Hey guys, Buckeye Bar guys. We wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to us here on Buckeye Bar Talk. Great show we got coming up today. We're really looking forward to you guys listening and watching it. But just wanted to remind everybody, just remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the all notifications bell, that way anytime a new show comes up, you guys will be alerted to it. And don't forget to like the video and comment on the video. All interactions with us helps us continue to grow, and we appreciate your support. Now to the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Buckeye Bar Guys here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
We're going to do our draft episode today. We're recording this on Wednesday, April 28th. Here in the evening. It's getting ready to be a little stormy here in Northeast Ohio. So I think we got some fun weather coming our way. So how you doing?
I'm good. Did you get the yard mowed?
I did that on Monday. So that's done.
I got mine done today. You know what? You gotta beat the elements in Ohio. Like I had to beat snow a couple weeks back. I had to beat the thunderstorms this time.
Yeah, that was how I did it. It was last week. I did it before the snow hit the day before. And yeah. Now this week it's getting before the rain. But yeah, no, it's done. It'll be good for a few days. All right. So we'll get started. Probably won't be too long of an episode tonight. But just before we get into the kind of the NFL stuff, we're gonna just a couple housekeeping things for the Buckeyes. So first, Dasan Mccullough. He's one of our commitments. The freshman was one of our commitments. So he is decommitted and he will go to Indiana. They ended up hiring his father and getting both of his brothers to go there. It was one already there, one transferred in, and now Dasan's committed. Is that how it ended up going?
I think I think he actually has a younger brother that has already committed to there, that he's a defensive back, and that his older brother went to Miami of Ohio and he's transferring over. And then the dad, who is overqualified to be the running backs coach at Indiana, he was the running backs coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, but yeah. I think he had coached for Indiana previously. So he went back to Indiana, and then his sons are all following him. So, I mean, I guess, you get to play for your dad. I think they gave him the associate head coach title like Larry Johnson has over here. So you get to play with your dad and your brothers. I mean, I can't fault the kid. It just like he was going to be, he was the guy that was like that next level bullet type of linebacker, like the Isaiah Simmons. That's who they imagined he was going to be for the Buckeyes. So it hurts a little bit losing him, but we'll be okay in the long run. I wish the best for him. He'll have a good career in Indiana. He'll make it to the pros. The kid's, he has a bright career, but kind of sucks because I think he could have got the most out of himself at Ohio State.
Yeah. I think that was the most I saw from Ohio State fans. I think ticked them off the most out of the whole thing was just that they kind of thought it was kind of that they were just the move by Indiana to bring the father over to try to, get but all's fair in love and war, I guess. I like how Indiana fans again are coming out of the woodwork and talking crap to Buckeye fans over it. I'd be like, all right, whatever. I mean, the kid's going to be great. I'm not I agree with you. He's going to be awesome. But I mean, Ohio State's bringing in just as much good talent. I mean, everybody else on the board's just as good, and they will replace him with somebody good. So, I mean, I would love to have him at even and probably when he graduates. I'll still would love to have him, but he's gonna end up. He's an enemy now. I'm not gonna talk bad about him. I don't do that. I don't believe in that for anybody that does want to do stuff like that. But I wish him the best of luck. But I hope the Buckeyes kick them. They owe him a big time butt kicking. All these smack talking from Indiana fans and stuff. And I think what's his face is Allen's getting a little too cocky over there in Bloomington. I think Ryan Day needs to bring him down a couple pegs. That's like the team that they've been letting them hang with them now for the last few years. It seems like they gotta they need to make a special butt kicking for them. They've been like, all right, it's like, you got our attention. Now we got to go whoop your butt.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, Tom Allen, I definitely think he does have them on the right track. Obviously, he's getting, better recruits. He's recruiting. I mean, he recruits Florida very well, so he's doing a good job. I just don't think that they're on our level or they're going to be on Ohio State's level anytime soon. So I could be wrong. Tom Allen, he might get Ryan Day here one of these years, but where the talent is, I saw how Ryan Day has jumped up on him in their meetings that they've had. Of course, Allen kind of Indiana clawed their way back last year, but I don't know. I think Ohio State is going to, I think the players, although they always say they don't take stuff like that personally or they don't hear the noise, they're hearing the noise from these Indiana fans that somehow think that because Indiana lost by 7, but they played one more game, that Indiana actually somehow beat Ohio State. So I think Ohio State players hear it, and they're going to thrash them next year, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still saying that Tom Allen ain't going to be there for more than a few more years. I just think, I just don't see him doing a Pat Fitzgerald and sticking by Indiana for a long time. I think somebody's going to come in and throw him some money somewhere, and he's going to take a job. But I mean, maybe he'll prove me wrong. I just don't believe it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he very well may, but I guess it all depends, who's going to come calling for him. Because, I mean, yeah, I think a mid-tier SEC school is a better job than Indiana. I mean, I don't know if anyone could, if people would argue that with me or not. But I think, if you're looking at maybe Auburn just got a new coach too, though. So it's kind of hard to say. But because, I mean, the tiers in the SEC, it goes from a good job to complete garbage real quick, real fast in the SEC. So, I mean, it's a very steep drop off there. So I don't know. I mean, no one's going to pull him from the Big Ten, though. I mean, where would he, USC, a good job like USC, I could see Miami. But you know what I'm saying is I don't know. I wouldn't leave Indiana to go coach Arizona. What's the point?
I agree with that. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see what happens on that. So, again, wish Mccullough the best of luck. The other news that's coming out of Ohio State that just happened a few hours ago. So Juice Williams, Jameson Williams has entered the transfer portal. This is, you marked this into the column of not really surprising to me. I mean, I didn't drop my jaw when I heard it.
No.
I mean, obviously I don't want to lose a kid, but, we kind of talked about this one a few weeks ago when we talked about receivers. It's just that we kind of felt like he was going to get passed up anyway. And then kind of when we saw the spring game, then that kind of just, verified that, I mean, it seems like, Jackson Smith and, Emeka were going to be the inside guys. And then, which Wilson was moving back to the outside. And then, Marvin Harrison Jr., really, I think proved that he deserves to be in the 2 deep with the way he played in spring. So, I mean, I think overall those guys are probably all a little bit better than Jameson. It's not to say Jameson's not is a bad player. I mean, I think he's a good player. I think he's going to be a really good starting receiver for somebody.
Oh yeah.
But he's, I wish him the best of luck. Like I said, I wasn't surprised, but you don't want to lose a kid. I mean, he obviously is bought in. He had a big touchdown catch against Clemson, and I mean, he's a good kid. I mean, he hasn't caused any problems down there, so. He seems like he has a pretty good head on his shoulders, and wish him the best.
Yeah, and, also going on that, you didn't even mention Julian Fleming's there in the mix that obviously you would think Ohio State really has him, big time a part of their plans so he was started because Garrett Wilson was on the inside, but he already got moved to a bench position, and these other guys that are coming in, I don't know if they're better than him or not, but they have a lot of upside. They can do other things that Juice hasn't necessarily proved he can do right now. You're going to miss his speed. You're going to miss, you're definitely going to miss his speed, but I think a lot of the other guys could just do a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised if we still lose. I don't want to put anyone's name out there. Let's just say I wouldn't be surprised if the third one from St. Louis, if we lose another receiver from out that way too.
Yeah. I could see that. I think just thinking about Williams is that I think that he was the beneficiary, I think, of them losing spring last year. And because I think probably some of those freshmen coming in off of last year's team, like Fleming and obviously Jackson Smith and Jijba, I think those guys would have fully passed him up on the roster if they had a full off season, and they didn't. Ryan Day, I mean, he's kind of alluded to this before. We've talked about this show. He kind of had he played with the guys he had the year before because those were the cards he was dealt. He kind of decided to go with the guys that he knew instead of the guys that he didn't know yet. And I think if he got to know the other guys and see their talents and their skill sets, that probably those guys would have been in better positions last year. It was just, that year was that year. And so, and you kind of saw it in the writings on the wall after this spring that he was going to be moving down the depth chart. And I think he probably made the best decision for himself if he wants to be playing on an NFL roster someday, that he needs to be on the field.
Right. And we've always said that you gotta be on the field to, make the pros. You're not doing yourself any favors being on the bench to go to the next level if that's what your dreams are. And transfer portal, that's not a definite thing either. He could end up at the end of the day, he could still be a Buckeye. I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah.
Best of luck. Best of luck to him.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we're going to get a little bit into just some draft talk. We'll start with Urban, and then we'll kind of move into the Ohio State players. So the reason why I talk about Urban is, Urban here in Columbus. He's one of the legendary coaches that have coached here, and he's going to see what he can do at the next level. I still think, I think we both agree that we still think it's Trevor Lawrence, even though there's some smoke that is coming out there that possibly even Justin Fields could be moving up on his radar. And, I've always said if, just hypothetically, so if he ends up taking Fields tomorrow night, I've always said that wouldn't surprise me. I'm not going to be surprised by it.
No.
But I just think that being a first time NFL head coach, the smarter decision is probably to take Trevor, because I think he would get a pat. I think I've always said this, and there's nothing taking anything away from Justin. I think Justin's just as a good quarterback as Trevor. That I just think that I think there's enough of a blanket in there or whatever that if Trevor is a bust, that there's a buffer that Urban will survive that. Where if Justin was a bust, I don't know if a new head coach survives that one.
Well, I think just like you're kind of alluding to, just what has been surrounding Trevor Lawrence for all these years. I mean, any GM's taking him first this year, and anyone's going to get a pass on him being a bust because no one believes he can be a bust. Now, with that being said, though, I mean, are you a little surprised, though? We've known since 2018, Trevor Lawrence is the first pick of this draft. Are you a little surprised that it is not announced that, they've already been working with him on a contract, or that it has not been announced that they're picking him tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a little strange, but that seems like that's been more of it seems like ever since they've changed the contract situations that they're all kind of slotted, so you kind of know what the first player is going to be making. It seems like there's been less that they've over the last several years that they've been a definite that that's the guy that they're going to take. Because I think in the old days, in the Peyton Manning eras and the Tim Couch eras, those type of stuff, you kind of had to start negotiating already, because I mean, those guys could command huge contracts. So, you were starting to really get feelers out there. So I'm not really, I think he's still the pick. I mean, kind of when the Browns took Baker, I mean, there was definitely a lot of smoke the couple days leading into the draft that it was going to be Baker, but the Browns never officially commented on it. They didn't begin contract negotiations. It seems like that's who all along. I mean, the Browns, it didn't seem like that was a last minute decision by the Browns. When you listen to how the Browns talked, I mean, they could have began negotiating with Baker, a month prior to that. And, it just doesn't seem like that happens anymore.
But you're not hearing the same stuff. Like, it sounds like Urban's, you're not hearing like the 100% stuff. But I mean, like you and I we both agree that we are almost 90% sure that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. And I think
95.
I think it's probably 90-10, and it's probably why we haven't heard anything, because there is probably that 10%. And I will tell anybody now, if somebody said that, his one option is Trevor Lawrence and then there's a second option, I would put all my money that second option is Justin Fields over any of the other quarterbacks, just because I think he knows him the best. I mean, he's, he never coached him, but Urban's been around Columbus. He knows Columbus. His son-in-law was Justin's quarterback coach last year. I mean, him and Ryan Day have a great relationship. I'm sure Urban we know for a fact that Urban was in a lot of closed door practices last year when a lot of media during COVID sessions couldn't be in there, that Urban Meyer was there. And, so like, that he follows the team very closely. I mean, he lives in Columbus. So, I mean, was there on a lot of off days over the last 2 years, or days that, practice days over the last 2 years. So, I mean, he can call Ryan Day up at any time or day, and let's chat about Justin Fields.
And also the fact that Justin Fields is the second best quarterback in this draft. The most athletic quarterback in this draft. Besides the fact that he's actually just the better player out of most of these guys, Urban knows him.
And when you look at all the the measurables and stuff like that, I mean, he's the most accurate in the last since 2017, besides Joe Burrow going 20 yards down the field or more. I mean, he scored the highest on that one test that, out of all these guys. I mean, the guy's smart. He's unbelievable athleticism. He's got a great arm. Everything that supposedly and we'll talk about Justin here in a second, everything that supposedly now that he's not, I'm starting to wonder, you've been joking around that is it Bill Belichick throwing all these things out there? And I'm starting to wonder, is it Bill Belichick? Because I don't know where half this stuff is coming from.
Trying to get him to tank. Yeah. That's what's happening. Belichick, I don't know. It's just, none of it makes sense to me. I don't understand where any of it's coming from. Now it's like they were talking about, what I heard this week is they were talking about his maturity for how he left Georgia. It's like, he's an 18-year-old kid. What are you talking about? Shut up.
Yeah. Well, like I said, just to finish up on Urban. So, I mean, I think we'll definitely be Trevor. It'll be interesting to see how Urban does this weekend. I've always said I think Urban Meyer could win the Super Bowl. I think he will have ample opportunities to win the Super Bowl in Jacksonville. Their owner is not a guy that seems like he makes rash decisions. He seems like he has I think it's Shad Khan or whatever is the owner's name. He seems like he has a pretty good head on his shoulders. He's not a Dan Snyder type by any stretch of the imagination. And I think, they've been really dying to get some fans down there, and, a guy like Urban and a winner could really help them because, they've always been in that talks. Are they the team that's going to end up moving to London or not? Because they've played how many games over there? I think it sucks because he's in the AFC, and obviously every time the Browns play him, I'm going to want the Browns to kick their butt. But the AFC South is a really weird thing. You got, the Titans have kind of been like the class act over the last couple of years, but that's a different team. Are they really as good as everybody thinks they are? They just the AFC South is just kind of, to me, has been a weird conference. I think all four of the teams are always been really capable over the last several years of being able to win, but it just seems like that none of them, they're all kind of those blah teams. Like none of them are like, and so I think there's an opportunity there where he could really challenge and be a very flashy, very good team. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm rooting for him outside of when he's playing the Browns, but if the Browns don't end up making a Super Bowl and Jacksonville does make the Super Bowl, I'm going to root for Jacksonville. I want Urban to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Urban will do well. I think Urban's a winner. We all know that. So I think he's going to be fine. And, Jacksonville, and I know they have gutted that team a little bit. But they were only like a half from making a Super Bowl a couple years ago. They're not that far removed from it. But like I said, I know they've gutted that team. So that's not the same team that was there, but it'll be interesting. He has a lot of young pieces. He has the first pick of the draft. I didn't really do my research. I don't know how many picks he has in this draft or what like his first round's looking like, but for a new coach, there's not many players out there that are better to start your next chapter with than Trevor Lawrence. So best of luck to him. And I think he'll do very well in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Justin Fields. So, when I saw the maturity thing this week because of the Georgia thing, I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, how? Okay. The guy is behind somebody that if he has a better offense, like if Brian Day is Georgia's head coach, Justin Fields beats out Fromm. So he's getting punished because he has an unimaginative head coach who is not giving him the time of day. And whether you want to, call him out on the, his reasonings, why he left over, the racist comments, was he looking for an excuse to leave or not leave? Like, I'm not there. I'm not that situation. So I can only take the guy for face value that he said that bothered him, being at the school bothered him. It just seemed like he felt like that it wasn't taken seriously down there. That's all I can take as serious. That's what Justin Fields says. Justin Fields he doesn't have a history of lying. He's never, any indication that there's no reason why I shouldn't believe that those are legitimate concerns for him. Yeah. So you have an unimaginative head coach. Yeah. And maybe if Kirby Smart is a better head football coach that knows how to use Justin Fields, talents better, maybe, Justin Fields maybe does overlook that other situation. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But he chose to leave. So I don't see how we can give him a hard time and say that that's immature of him to leave. But we don't have, when older kids, the Nick Bosa's of the world, and I have no problem with Nick Bosa did, and I have no problem with some of these guys but nobody calls these guys out for sitting out seasons at the end of their careers or sitting out bowl games or, if they're no longer, like last year, a couple guys throughout the year, several of these teams opted out at different points in the year. Yeah. Nobody calls these guys out as being immature. So how, like, I guess I'm not correlating the difference here. Like, how is it okay that those guys are looking out for the best for their careers, but Justin Fields, who wants to go play in a better situation, that's immature. Like, I don't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, from what I gather, it's how he handled himself going about it. It wasn't so much the transfer, it's the way he went about it. But it's still at that point, he's an 18, 19-year-old kid, but I don't know. We never heard, I feel like if there was really some, something behind it, if there was actually, something there, we would have heard about what happened and how he handled himself incorrectly. And you've said it yourself. I mean, you said it, Kirby Smart, he couldn't get the best out of Justin Fields. And why would you go waste your talent for someone that isn't going to get the best out of you? So,
yeah.
I mean, he would have sat another year behind Jake Fromm?
Yeah.
He would have
Fromm would have been the So then he's going to waste a year or two playing for Kirby Smart. That's not going to do anything that's going to showcase his offense. It's just about running the ball down people's throats and, hitting play action passes,
right.
Which, yeah, I think that aspect, Justin Fields will be very dangerous in that aspect of the game. That's why I think San Francisco, if he falls to 3, I think the 49ers would be stupid to pass on him because, I see Justin Fields fitting what Kyle Shanahan wants to do just like perfectly. But I just fall back to this one thing. How can we say, and like I said, I'm not calling anybody out. Like, I'm not the same person I was how many years ago where I used to think that was stupid. These guys that sold out bowl games and stuff like that. I've come to understand over the last 10 years of my life, that, hey, these guys, they want to go play in the NFL. They're looking at what's best for their next career. I went to college to get a career. These guys are going to college to get a career too. So why mess up their possible career aspects? So if it's okay for them to sit out their final game or their final couple games, or there's been talks now for how many years that we're going to have one of these guys that just sits out his whole last season, which I do think will probably end up happening here. That how is it okay for that to be okay, but it's not okay for Justin Fields to go play somewhere that he knows he's going to have a good offensive mind running the team, who's going to be basically his quarterback guru that's going to teach him the rope
right
at a school that's going to be, at the end of the day, that's going to give him just as many opportunities to possibly win, a national title as Georgia's going to give him. At least Ohio State's won a national title in the last 10 years, and they've been to another one. Georgia's been to one, but I mean, Kirby Smart hasn't done anything that Mark Richt has done. So,
well, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, if you want to talk about Justin Fields, like, honestly, like him not being a first round quarterback or, not developing whatever, that scenario, that situation would have been if Justin Fields stayed at Georgia. Justin Fields would not be a first round quarterback had he stayed at Georgia.
Wouldn't. No, he wouldn't have. And it would have been, maybe if Al Davis came back to life and decided with the Raiders pick to draft him, just because, that would be an Al Davis thing to do, to take somebody who had no first round grade to go into the first round. But yeah, you're exactly right. If he stayed at Georgia, he would not be no first round quarterback right now, because he would not have been showcased at all down there.
No, he would have been a game manager. They would have called him a game manager, or he would have won them the national title this year. I don't know. One of the two. Who knows? Who knows what he would have done? Who knows?
But no, it's just this whole Justin Fields thing has just been perplexing to me. Like, is it somebody like Belichick that's just throwing out all kinds of craps? Like, Sims, says he's going 32. Like, I'm sorry if I'm going to rest on this one until I see different tomorrow. If Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones are your top 3 picks, and Justin Fields is the 4th quarterback, he's not going past 10. Somebody's coming up to get him, or one of those other teams are taking him, because there's going to be such a fear, a rush at that point. Like, somebody's not just going to be like, okay, I'm going to wait back at 16 and take him, or 32 to take him. If Tampa wants him that bad at 32, they're going to have to come up and get him.
If I see Justin Fields fall to 32, Mike, I'll be beside myself. I don't know what the hell I'm going to say.
No, he won't fall to 32, because Belichick will have the biggest smile on his face at 15. And, or the Steelers. The Steelers would take him at 24. I mean, that would be just
or Washington.
Washington. I mean, hell, if he gets into the 20s, one of those teams like Atlanta, or, somebody that might want a quarterback that decided not to take a quarterback, and they'll be looking to trade up at that point. They'll be like, we're going off to get him. Like, we were kind of crazy letting him slide. If somehow, Justin Fields does a Brady Quinn slide here, or an Aaron Rodgers slide. And if Aaron Rodgers, if he was coming out in these drafts he would never slide to 24. He might have been the fourth quarterback taken, but he would have been a top 10 draft pick because it's just, you don't take those risks anymore. I mean, you can't hope to God somebody's going to be there. If you really want somebody and he is your pick, you need to come get it, especially at quarterback, because you can't risk that guy thinking that guy's going to be there.
If Josh Allen is worthy a couple years ago of being a top 10 pick, Justin Fields better be a top 10 pick. I have no issue with Josh Allen, but if you want to talk about like ceilings and what they wore at the draft, like what the product was at the time, talk about the competition they played, like Justin Fields is so much further along, and he probably has a higher ceiling than Josh Allen.
Yeah. He has, Josh Allen could, he might be able to take down a steel wall with his throw.
Okay. He can throw through a wall for sure.
But, Justin Fields' arm's pretty strong. It's not like this is a weak arm. It's a strong arm quarterback. Mm-hmm. He played better competition. He had better completion stats. Much better. He can, there's no downside. So if Josh Allen was this definite high ceiling type of guy, I don't know how you could say Justin Fields is not that guy, but it will befuddle me, and I don't think I'm going to see it. I think there's some smoke being thrown out there, and I don't know where it's coming from. I don't think the Jets are taking him. The Jets are a dumb organization. I don't want the Jets taking him.
I don't want them to.
I don't think they will. I think they're too stupid of an organization to do that. I really think the Niners will take him. I think Lynch and Shanahan, if Urban doesn't take him at 1, I think he's going 3. I really do. I think that those guys will take him at that point. Urban could surprise everybody. And like I said, it might not even be that big of a surprise to me, but just because I don't think Urban can run his exact offense the way he likes to run it. But I think, as you've seen in the NFL, they are running hybrids of those style of offenses. And I think Justin Fields could run that offense for Urban Meyer. And so, all right. So
I'm going to say it. I'll say he goes 2, and I'm going to be really upset that the Jets take him, but I'm going to say 2 because why not?
I hope the Jets don't take him. But yeah, it could be.
Before we go any further, is it legitimate that the Bengals are going to take Jamar Chase instead of getting Joe Burrow a line?
I don't know. To the Bengals fans of Buckeye Nation, protect that man. I saw the scar on his knee the other day, and I'm just like, that meme was going around. I'd be like, get that man a line because, and they didn't even, and I don't know if Billy Price is their ultimate guy or not, but they're not even going to pick up his 5th-year option. They're letting him go to free agency after this year. So,
I don't think Billy Price has done very well for the Bengals.
Yeah, but they're now going to go. So they better be planning on taking a line then, because whether he was been doing well or not, they're letting him go. So,
I know you got to protect Burrow. The guy, he ran like a chicken with its head cut off when he was healthy last year, and it ultimately, it got the best of him. It's unfortunate, but you can't take too many of those. You can't have your knee chopped up a bunch of times.
And maybe we can do after the draft, maybe a couple weeks after the draft, maybe after the draft. Being an AFC North country, maybe we could do an AFC North kind of centric show where we'll just because I think if the Bengals take a line, put some linemen in there, I think we're going to see a very big transition in the AFC North. The Ravens are still going to be there, but what are the Steelers have lost like 3 linemen this offseason. 2 of them retired and the one guy left. They are not addressing that age in Pittsburgh at all. And Pittsburgh could go really quickly to the cellar in the division. And, I'm sure some of the Pittsburgh fans don't want to hear that, but I don't know what to tell you. If I'm pretty confident the Browns are here to stay for a while. that coach is smart. Everything he's building around them is smart. They really addressed the defense this year and the offseason. If they have another good draft, I mean, they could really, I mean, they made the playoffs last year. And if, you know, the Ravens are the Ravens, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how good Lamar really is, as a complete quarterback. I mean, nobody's questioning his athleticism. I mean, the dude's a freak when it comes to that. But, you know, with the receivers the Bengals have, if they address that offensive line, I mean, it could be a 3-team race in the AFC North, and the Steelers not be one of those teams. I mean, imagine talking about that 10 years ago.
That's craziness. You know, the Steelers are going to draft like Tough Borland or something in the 6th round, and he's going to.
Yeah.
And Tough somehow is going to shut down the Browns running game.
Yeah. His only game that he plays all year, and he'll have a great game against Cleveland. Yeah, that would be our luck. All right. So kind of transitioning that from Tough then into this. So, I mean, speaking of Tough, I don't think either one of us think he's getting drafted. So, no. I mean, we were really planning on talking about Tough, but I mean, the kind of the ideas where some of these other guys are going to fall. I think Shaun Wade, I mean, a lot of people still feel he's kind of that first, second round type there. He's fallen somewhere in there. I mean, what do you think? Do you think the reputation of Ohio State's cornerbacks is going to entice somebody to definitely grab him in the first round? Or do you think he falls into the second round?
I think, I hate this. I think Sean's going to go second round, though. I mean, I think, you know, what he has, what he can offer, I think someone could definitely reach up and grab him, you know, take that chance in the first round. But I think Sean's going to be a second round cornerback. I would say I'm about like 50-50 on the rounds on there. I mean, brain's telling me second round, heart's telling me first round.
I actually think he's going to go in the bottom third of the first round. I think somebody after 20 is going to take him. And the reason why I say that is I think he's got a name to him. I think he was probably on some people's pre-draft boards last year before, you know, he made a decision to stay. And I think the reputation of Ohio State's secondary is probably going to win somebody over, that they're going to think he's a first round possibility, that he's like an in-betweener between that first and second round. But they're going to go with, I think they will rest on the fact that 9 times out of 10, you know, you're going to get a good player in the secondary out of Ohio State. And, you know, maybe he wasn't in the right position, and, you know, in that bottom third of the first round, you can kind of play around with somebody's positioning. Like, he doesn't have to be drafted as a shutdown corner at that point. You know, he's not a top 10 draft pick. So somebody could take him in the bottom third and then be like, we're going to kind of have you as a hybrid between a corner and a safety, and then kind of see where you fit in best. But, you know, and I've always said I think he's going to end up being a safety at the next level. I still think that way. And I think somebody might take the opportunity to take him, and I could see Cleveland taking him if they don't get a defensive lineman they like. I think the Browns are probably leaning defensive lineman to go on that, the defensive line. But, like, you know, a secondary player doesn't hurt, and it's actually one that you probably could play multiple positions in the secondary if need be. And so, like, I'm really wondering right there if the Browns, if they don't have a defensive lineman that they like, would they take Shaun Wade? I know they've interviewed him.
Yeah, it could definitely happen. I don't know who the Browns are going to take. I mean, I like the defensive lineman possibility as well, but I could see Shaun going in the end of the first round. Like I said, brain's telling me second, heart's telling me first, but he's definitely one of those couple guys that are kind of right there on that border, first and second.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the Browns, and I know everybody's going to say this is a reach. It's probably a round early reach, but, like, I kind of want him to take Togai with their first pick. Like, I think he could be a stud at defensive tackle in the NFL, and they could use a defensive tackle with losing Ogunjobi.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if Togai's sitting there. I know he supposedly has a second, maybe third round grade on some people's draft boards, but I'd be like, I don't know. I think he's the real deal, and I think he's going to prove himself in the league. And why not take a reach at that point? I mean, unless there's somebody there that you absolutely think's a stud and he's a stud on your draft board, I say take the best available defensive tackle on the board. And maybe I'm biased. I've actually seen Tommy play, but I think I'm really wanting to know who's outside maybe the best or second best. Who is better than him in this draft at defensive tackle?
Yeah. And I don't none of us know, Tommy's story of why he went out to the draft. I'm not sure if he really did himself, favors or not. Cause I've seen people say he could go fourth round, which I think is crazy. Cause I don't see any way a defensive tackle that has that speed and that strength you can let go past the second round. And I know he's getting third round grades, but I don't know what you're saying, first round, I could be tempted to do it. I just don't think it doesn't seem like anybody really has him that high. Maybe just because he hasn't played, he didn't play enough. I don't know what it was, but I don't.
Yeah. Now, the Browns do use the analytical approaches. So if he is getting a third round grade, they'll probably hold off on it. But who knows? Maybe in their analytics, the analytics say take a defensive tackle right there. And if he ends up being the best defensive tackle left, who knows? Maybe it's maybe the Browns have him as a second round grade and they don't think he'll last their second round pick. And they'll be like, well, our analytics say draft a defensive tackle here and let's take him.
I truly believe if Tommy Togai gets past the second round, he's the steal of the draft.
I think I agree with that. I think he's the real deal. I think he's strong as hell. He's going to be a perfect one at the nose, and he's fast. He's strong. He mixes it up he knows how to mix it up with the interior offensive lineman. He's good against the run. He can give you a good pass rush up the middle, So, yeah. I've always said I would love to, it's so hard after you get him blown out like that in the national title, but I would love to see what that game looks like if Tommy's there, because I think it just changes so much about the defense that maybe they take a little bit more chances on defense because they're just not as concerned about, even though Najee's a great player, and don't get me wrong, but they might not are worried as much about Najee because they feel like they can cover him up in the inside better.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think if Tommy and Tyreek Smith too, but if Tommy's playing, that just completely changes, the game plan of that national title game, because I don't think you're focusing so much your linebackers on Najee Harris. And don't get me wrong, if you don't focus on him like that, Najee could have turned that game sideways on Ohio State just as easily by himself.
Yeah.
But that's a big man in the middle that would have ate a little bit of that huge offensive line also. So
yeah. All right. So we've talked about Sean, talked about Tommy. So some of the surprises coming out this week is that maybe Pete Werner is coming up, up some draft boards a little higher than a lot of people think. There's some talks that he could go late first round. I don't see it, but that would be crazy. Everybody knows how much of a gamer he is, and Pete Werner is always, the way I will say about Pete Werner, I think he's one of those smart picks to those teams that are always picking towards the end of those rounds, because those are the teams that those good teams that are always there. The teams like what you would think of the Steelers and stuff like that, even though the Steelers have a lot more issues this year, but New England in past years, and the Chiefs, that just seems like a guy that fits those situations because they know he's a winner, they know he's a gamer, they know he can compete. And, he's just going to fit into their mold, into the their way of life. And those winning teams all have cultures, and Pete Werner can fit into a winning culture. I mean, we've seen that in Columbus very well.
Yeah, I don't see him as a first round pick. I even think like he'll be more so mid to end second round, but who knows, man? People have graded him out, as a bottom third first rounder. Pete Werner could be a first rounder. And like you said, I mean, he would fit in perfectly in a lot of those cultures. I mean, hell, like you got the Watt brothers and, Pete Werner now at Pittsburgh. I mean, it could happen. You never know.
Yeah, exactly.
He can cover people. He can stop the run, and he can cover. And the guy likes to hit. I mean, remember, he made his bones on special teams when he was a freshman. He about knocked himself out every single game. So Pete was a hell of a special teams player.
Yeah. All right, just two more players, and then we'll get on out of here. Jonathan Cooper, where do you think Coop's going to end up? I think is he in second day, or is he going to go third day?
Third day, fifth round, I'm saying for Coop.
Do you think he will, do you think somebody, I know he's been practicing some in linebacker, his workouts and stuff. Do you think a 3-4 team, he's more as likely to go to a 3-4 team, or do you think a 4-3 team will take him? I think it's probably more than likely the way that if he felt like he needed to start kind of working out as a linebacker, that he's trying to open up his possibilities as much as possible. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking he's probably a 5th or 6th rounder personally, but I mean, if he's looking good at linebacker, then I think he could be, possibly, one of those, he could get taken by a 3-4 team. I think he could be a good pick somewhere like there. I mean, he's got good explosiveness. Yeah. And, I think he could be a,
mm-hmm. I was just going to say, I definitely think he'll be a 3-4 linebacker. I do.
Okay. And actually just, I said just two more guys. Two more guys now because I forgot about Josh Myers. So our interior linemen, Wyatt and Josh, I was thinking we were going to finish on Wyatt, but then I remember we had another big time offensive lineman and Josh Myers. So, yeah. I think these guys are probably, where do you think Wyatt's going to go? Because really up in the air on that one. Does somebody take him? Because I could see Wyatt Davis literally going anywhere from tomorrow night all the way into early tomorrow, then 2 nights from Friday night. So what do you think on Wyatt?
Give me the end of the first round. Wyatt Davis is too good. He had some health issues at the end of last year. I think people need to recognize that he is just too good. I mean, you saw that guy as a blocker. He is mean as hell. He pancakes people. Yeah. Give me Wyatt Davis in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah, he's another one of those guys I really feel like just fits into one of those end of those first round culture teams. The teams that, always are drafting at the end of the first round because they're always in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I just think he fits into one of those cultures. And again, he's proven himself. Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's going to go later tomorrow night. Another guy I know, I want the Browns to draft every Buckeye on the board. Another guy that if the Browns are set at offensive line, I think the Browns would probably be stupid to take him just because there's a couple other needs in there that the Browns do need. But if they needed another guard, I would have Wyatt Davis circled like 5 times. Yeah. You better draft Wyatt Davis.
Hell yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, if the Browns weren't as said, that would definitely be my guy, especially if he's there. You go with Wyatt. That's why I think another team that's going to be around the same spot that's already going to be, kind of close probably does. There's someone that needs a guard, and it just makes sense.
That could be at 24. That could be a Steelers pick. I mean, if you think about it, what they've lost on the offensive lineman, that actually might be where he could be penciled in at. I mean, I wouldn't want to see him in Pittsburgh, but
I want him far away from Pittsburgh.
That would be a typical Steelers pick, though, and that would be a smart pick. And
Absolutely.
so, especially if you know that Ben's not going to be around much longer, and whether Dwayne is the guy you're going to be moving on to eventually, or eventually you're drafting another quarterback somewhere. I mean, you start building getting that offensive line built up, ready for whenever, Ben's swan song is in Pittsburgh.
Well, you mean if it's Dwayne or Justin Fields, because that's where Justin Fields is falling to, right?
Justin ain't falling to 24. And if the Steelers want him bad, they got to come up to top 10 to get him.
I think Wyatt's a first rounder, though. I don't know. I mean, I know he's not grading that way now, but someone's going to take him. It's going to make sense to them.
Yeah. I think the Buckeyes end up with 3 first rounders because like I said, I think Sean's going to get in that bottom third. I think Wyatt's going to get in that bottom third too. Those are 2 guys that it's not so much, the top 10 is kind of just the flashy guys. You want your lockdown corner in there. You want your big time offensive tackle in there. Those guys, once you get into the bottom half of the first round, especially into the bottom third, that's when the best available players start becoming, to getting taken off the boards. And those guys, in my opinion, fit those situations that, when it comes off the team. So that's why I think Wyatt will be taken tomorrow, late first round. Where do you think Josh is going to end up? And where do you think he's going to end up being a center, or do you think he is going to end up being a guard at the next level?
I think I would go third round with Josh. That's hard because he's been a center for 2 years, but I think Josh Myers could be a lethal guard in the NFL. I mean, he's still, and he got so much better this year, and he was still good last year. Don't get me wrong. I mean, really good last year too, but he's still, pass blocking is still something that he's still learning. It's just he never did it in high school, and he's been learning. He's been getting really good at it, but he's still not a complete project or, a finished product, I should say, when it comes to pass blocking. I think as guard, though, he could be just take out that whole, snapping and thinking part of it and just go destroy. I think he'd be a really, really amazing guard in the NFL.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking. I agree with you. I am kind of like third, fourth round. I could see him going third round. But I think he's either going to be the end of Friday-ish, second part of Friday, or early on Saturday, I think. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you. I think he should probably move to guard. I think that will probably be his best position in the NFL, just because even though he is a proven center, I think he could play center. If you get into an emergency situation, he definitely could be a center. But he's a nasty boy, and take that extra thinking out of it and just let him be a nasty player. And pass blocking is a little easier in the interior. So because, you're not dealing necessarily with the outside speed like you are at tackle. So you're dealing with a bigger guy normally. So I think he can, if he doesn't have to think about the snap, I think the pass blocking, he'll be fine in the middle.
Yeah.
And everybody knows you put him on a running team. I mean, the man's a monster, and he will put, again, a lot like Wyatt. He'll put you on your butt, and he's not going to have any problems with that. And and he might even land on you when he puts you on his butt, and rub your face into the ground a little bit more. So
keep him away from Pittsburgh too. Keep all the Buckeyes away from the Steelers. I don't need any of them. Any AFC North team, actually, just keep them away from those teams. I don't want to see them.
Yeah. All right. I think we'll get on out of here with that.
Just real quick. Just
okay.
One word answer. I don't care. Justin Hilliard, drafted or undrafted?
I think undrafted. I think his injury history is probably will probably keep him off draft boards. He'll get a shot. He's going to be called into some camps. So he'll get a shot. He'll be signed as a free agent. But I love Justin Hilliard. I think we saw last year what that kid could have been like if he was healthy. He would have been a 3-year player at Ohio State because, I mean, he was a true 5-star. And I mean, I feel awful for him. Every injury he could have got, he ended up getting. And so, like, the fact that he's still able to play with after some of those injuries that, I mean, he had both an ACL and an Achilles, right? Like,
Mike, I thought he had a bicep tear. I think he might have had a pec tear. I think he had everything.
Everything that's like
such. I could be wrong, but I think he had everything.
Like, I know rehab is a lot better now than it was used to be, but every injury that used to be a career ender, I seem like he got. So
yeah.
But I mean, he's got a heart. And he's still got skills and athleticism. So I think he'll get a chance somewhere. Maybe somebody will take him in the 7th round, but I think he'll be undrafted.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wish the best for him. Hope he makes, practice squad. Hell, I hope he makes the NFL team. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we'll get on out of there. Just wanted to do a quick pre-draft show. I'm sure when we do our show this weekend, we'll have an idea at least how the first 2 days go. It went.
Yep.
And we'll talk more about the draft as we're kind of in this slow Ohio State period. It's like slow information seeping out of Columbus. So I mean, we got the juice thing today, but I figure we'll get a couple more transfers over the next possibly couple days.
I mean, you gotta do it. I mean, you can't wait forever to go to a new team. So it's going to start happening now. Hopefully not too many, but I think we're going to see a couple more as well.
Yeah. All righty. Well, take us on out.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for stopping in today at the Buckeye Bar. Well, off-site, the Skype call from the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
OH.
IO.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Buckeye Bar Guys on Buckeye Bar Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that all notifications bell so you see when new content is added. And please remember to like and share so we can grow our audience. Don't be afraid to comment. We want to know what you're thinking, and we want to know what content to add for you guys. OH.
IO.